That Detroit smash. That's right, my friends. This week's episode of My Hero Academia featured Izuku Midoriya going up against Katsuki Bakugo in the ultimate throwdown, which proves yet again that Izuku is the greatest hero from the series. The build-up to watching Izuku finally fight back against Katsuki Bakugo, man, just edge of my seat the entire time. Katsuki Bakugo continues to be one of the most pissed off, over-the-top anime characters that I've ever seen, and that's not even counting his absolutely ridiculous costume, which in this episode it is revealed has a cool secret ability hidden within it. You see, those massive grenade gauntlets aren't just for show. He's actually able to store the nitroglycerin that his body can naturally create inside of these giant gauntlets, and when he pulls this pin, it releases this massive explosion of fire, which is incredibly destructive to a point where it could have potentially killed Izuku Midoriya in this week's episode. Even All Might had to step in and say, hey, don't do that again. You do that, you're going to lose points, and you're instantly going to lose this entire match. And this is when Katsuki Bakugo still decides to explode right into Izuku Midoriya's face and have some amazing hand-to-hand combat with him, utilizing his abilities in a number of different ways to build up momentum, causing an explosion so that he can grab Izuku and slam him on the ground. There's a lot of great fighting choreography in this episode, as well as a lot of great comedy, and that's what I really liked about this episode, because everything that's been going on between Izuku and Katsuki is so intense, and you're just constantly wondering who's gonna kill who first. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have Ida Tenya and frickin' Ochako, who are just so funny. They're such extreme versions of their personalities, with Tenya really starting to get into the role of being a villain and really hamming it up to a point when Ochako sees this for the very first time, she starts laughing her ass off. But for the most part, she has to be careful because Tenya is still incredibly fast and very powerful. So it's going to be up to Izuku to try and create some sort of opening for her to go after this big bomb. And he also realizes that he can use his quirk against Katsuki, however, it's going to kill him, and that is not something that he wants on his conscience. It's not the hero way, and he doesn't really want to win that way either. That's not what a hero truly would do. Not to mention, he does genuinely look up to Katsuki Bakugo, which in this week's episode, we get to see a little bit more of their backstory, where basically Katsuki has just always been awesome at everything. He's excelled because of his quirks, he's been awesome at school, everybody just thinks he's so freaking awesome. Even Izuku Midoriya completely adores him, to a point where he follows him around even when he constantly gets picked on by being called Deku. And somewhere along the way, Katsuki Bakugo just realized that, you know what? I'm the shit. I'm freaking awesome. And he basically became this super entitled hero who saw no one as his equal. Except Izuku Midoriya would always confront him in the strangest ways, which would actually cause him to realize there's something about this guy that I don't like, and I hate the fact that he is trying so hard. There's a scene towards the end of the episode where they're hanging out with their friends out in the woods, and he ends up falling off of this log and falling into the water. His friends are all worried, but then they realize, don't worry, it's Katsuki, he's going to be alright. And you know what? He is okay. But while all of his other friends were up there just watching, Izuku Midoriya was immediately down there trying to help his friend. And this was basically the straw that broke the camel's back and caused Katsuki to start having a lot of friction with Izuku. He just could not accept the fact that despite the fact he had no quirks, he would still go out of his way to actually try and help people. And that's really the biggest rift between these two characters. And throughout the whole episode, he's just trying to get Izuku to use his quirk against him, but Izuku cannot control it quite yet. If he were to hit him at this point, it would be devastating. He would potentially kill this guy. And you want him to use the quirk against him. You really want him to just deck him right in the face. But no, Izuku still goes out of his way to use his quirk to not only not defeat Katsuki and help him, but he uses it to actually help out Ochako. What he does is he uses a big Detroit smash ability to actually uppercut into the air while blocking one of Katsuki's attacks, and you get to see this amazing shot of all of this power just going to the top of this building, destroying everything, crumbling all of the ground around Tenya and Ochako, but she's actually holding on to this pillar, which has now been broken, so she touches it with her powers, uses it to send all of these rocks flying right into Tenya, which gives her the ability to float over, grab the bomb, and causes their team to win. It is triumphant. It is amazing, and you can tell that this is really going to be getting under Katsuki Bakugo's skin, but again, proving that Izuku is an amazing hero. He could have beaten him whenever he wanted, but he didn't want to hurt his friend, and that is freaking commendable. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of My Hero Academia? That Detroit frickin' smash, man. That was such a great scene. What I loved most about it is that not only was the scene really satisfying, but it really made me start to appreciate the character of Izuku all that much more. He's not your typical anime hero who's just going to end every battle by punching the villain in the face. He's going to try and think of the best alternative method that he can, and he did it without having to hurt his friend in this week's episode, and you wanted him to do that. That was the thing. Like, they could have just gone real stereotypical with it. Maybe he learns how to use a small amount of his power to defeat Katsuki in one hit, but no, he used his head, he thought about the mission, and he thought about what it meant to be a hero, even if that means actually potentially taking down the villain in a really violent method, and something about that is just really damned impressive. They could have done something really stereotypical in the series, and they didn't. They did something unique, and I really like that. I really can't wait to see how the relationship is going to change as the series goes on, because eventually Katsuki has to go through some sort of change. I mean, either he is eventually just going to become a little more accepting of Izuku's powers, or he straight up is going to become a villain. He has so much potential to do so, and that's because of just how freaking pissed off he is all at the same time. Although I have to admit, watching him fight is pretty damn great. That combined with his extremely over-the-top expressions make him a really fun character to watch, and the perfect yin to Izuku's yang. They really are a perfect combination of characters together. Their personalities are just so freaking clashing, and like I said, there was a lot of choreography moments in this episode that looked good, and a lot of big explosive scenes. I mean, when Katsuki used that pin-pulling move to create that big explosion, the Detroit Smash, obviously, but I love the way that Katsuki fights, how he can propel himself forward, or when he grabbed him and used that to make himself spin around a lot quicker. Just all of those action scenes really popped. And then there was all the stuff with Tenya, who was just... God, this character is so funny, because you want to take him seriously, but he's so goofy all at the same time, especially when he starts to take on the persona of a villain. Like, I was right there with Ochako when I was laughing watching that scene, although even later he starts to become a little scary with that. And I need to reiterate that his costume still looks so damn cool. I love the look of that costume. Someone in my last review actually mentioned that he looks like that character from, not the Seven Deadly Sins. I've already forgotten the name of the damn show that I freaking reviewed already. It was the Assassin show. It was Akame ga Kill. I believe the character's name was Bulat, and his powers eventually went to the main character of that series. His overall design very much reminds me of the armor that was worn in that series, and I always thought that looked really awesome, and it looks really cool in this series as well. There's also hints to a few more other characters who are appearing in this episode. There's this one character who's like half of his body is completely ice, which is really cool, and in the intro of the show you can actually see him riding around on ice, so I guess he does have some ice powers. I can't wait to see what's up with him, because he looks like a very serious character, probably going to be very important. And I really hope in the next couple episodes maybe we'll get to see some of the other heroes in action and learn more about them and their quirks. I really can't wait to see where they're going to be going with the next couple of episodes, because this isn't going to be a very long season, and we're still kind of like in the middle of all the training and everything, so I'm really interested to see like how the series is going to come to a close, if they create their very own ending, or if they just find a nice stopping point, and maybe every year we'll just get like a brand new short season, which honestly, I'm okay with that. As long as the quality continues, I think that's what's really good about the show. You know, it's got some great animation quality, some really unique character designs, and some great story moments. You know, it's starting to separate itself from some of its shonen trappings, trying to be a little different than, say, like Naruto or Dragon Ball. It's starting to develop its own flavor, and it's really starting to get into my blood. So, another great episode of My Hero Academia right here. Great production value, a great battle between Izuku and Katsuki Katsuki Bakugo with a great heroic moment at the end, with lots of other cool moments spread throughout the entire episode, and some comedy. So check it out, action superhero anime fans. You're gonna love this week's episode. I'm gonna give this one right here. That's right, a 5 out of 5. I enjoyed it that much from beginning to end. I was loving it. I could be nitpicky and say there were a few too flashbacks in the beginning of the episode, but still, I love this one right here, and it's getting me even more attached to this brand new awesome anime franchise. So there it is. That's my thoughts on this week's episode, but I want to hear from you guys. Did you watch this week's episode of My Hero Academia? Did you like it? Why don't you tell me why in the comment sections below, or maybe why you didn't like it. Did you have a favorite scene from this week's episode, a favorite attack from Katsuki or Izuku, maybe even from Ochako or Tenya? And what do you want to see from the rest of My Hero Academia? Please tell me in the comment section below. You guys are awesome! Thank you for watching this review. How about smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel and checking out all the cool links in the description box below? I'd really appreciate it. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!